What destruction and creation can the breath of the gods give? How is it powered? How do the HUD play into its running? And what's its final fate? Welcome friends to another 40k video, drawing from God of Mars by Graham McNeil. First, what does it look like? A vaporous haze of reflected light emerged from the chasm, like a glittering swarm of microscopic flecks. The distortion spread in a veiling umbra, a swaddling fog of electromagnetism that lifted the breath of the gods from its prison beneath the world. It emerged without undue haste. Too swift an ascent would disturb the intricate dance of its unknowable internal architecture. As always, Telok was entranced by its magnificence, even after millions of years locked away by its creators and forced to endure the denial of its very existence. The breath of the gods impressed. The vast gear of its impossible silver leaves and whirling facets emerged from its long entombment like a newly launched ship rising from a graving dock on its first ascent to the stars. The machine's outline spun and clawed the air in mockery of all physical laws, each portion of the alien technology orbiting its own unknowable centre of non-gravity. The breath of the gods rose into the air with stately grace, and that's the general description of it. The breath of the gods is a creation of the Necrontyr at the command of the Satan. They were godlike beings, sculpting the matter of the universe to suit their desires with technology far beyond anything you could possibly imagine. And they wanted to contact all the universe and connect it with stepping stones of newly wrought galaxies they would build from the raw materials scattered by the creation of space-time itself. We are told the weapon can create regions of space. Telok says, I have reignited the hearts of dead suns, crafted star systems from the waste matter of the universe, and wrought life from death. The crazy Mechanica tells us. This comes with a price. The machine steals from the future and past to rebuild the present, heedless of the damage it wreaks. There are also creatures called the HUD that are acting as a temporal counterbalance to the space-time distortions caused by the breath of the gods, stopping the cracks growing further. I picture Telok running round a green field, trying to round the HUD up like a farmer's dog with sheep. The HUD can do this because they have entropic fields that distort time and space. The breath has been used to change two stars, Caitenvenia and Hypatia. And with an Auspex reading, you would find the planets in two states simultaneously, in the throes of violent birth and geological inertia. Hyper-accelerated development balanced out by ultra-rapid decrepitude, old and young in one moment. One thing about the HUD here is that they are able to check or reverse the power of the breath of the gods and how it draws that energy to itself. It's explained in the book. The breath is undoing the basic laws of the universe in order to achieve miraculous results, as well as the changes it draws power from strange sources too. It feeds its vast power demands by siphoning from the future and the past, most likely from the hearts of dozens of stars simultaneously. It then uses that power to accomplish its incredible feats of stellar engineering, said Kotov, his mechadendrites tracing complex temporal equations in the air. But the fallout from employing the machine created the very spatial anomalies Magos Tychon detected at the galactic edge, stars dying before their time, others failing to ignite and so forth. And at this point I just wanted you to think, why would the Necrons at the behest of the Satan create a machine that destroys stars, when it is stars in fact that the Satan feed upon? We'll answer that question a little later. So what powers it? What lets it draw on this energy from the past and future? You may know the story that the Emperor of Mankind, on terror, captured a shard of the Satan dragon and took it to Mars, imprisoning it in the Noctis labyrinth, and the breath of the gods is almost out of power, as it is also powered by a shard of one of the Necrontyr's gods. Telok wants to take the shard from Mars to power the breath of the gods once again, and he wants to get there using the Speranza, a ship Kotov of the Mechanicum has brought to the breath of the gods in trying to find out what happened to the device. So Telok will use it put the breath of the gods on the ship and take it back to Mars. Another snippet tells us what purpose it was built for, as well as making stars. The Eldar says, "Your machine was wrought for creatures who are anathema to life, the Necrons. Their servitor races built it to drain the life from stars and feed the monstrous appetites of their masters. But there is a danger with the device. It can unravel space and time, and without the Satan to keep these balances, it will do great damage." We are told the great damage it will do. The rift beginning here was pulling wider with every passing second, drawing every thread within the skein to it. But it goes further. The device will cause a slow death for the galaxy, as all time was devoured by the rift torn by the Satan device. It would end all things forevermore. Everything that had happened and was going to happen will never have existed. So the breath of the gods can be used to make stars, which was probably to feed the Satan. If you think of them as star vampires, that's a good way to put it. And just before we cover the climax of the novel, I want to point out one thing. The Satan would have powered the breath of the gods, but because this one is low in power, it is not able to control the effects, which is why there's so much damage being done around where it's being used. And the Hurd are functioning in that aspect to replace what the Satan would have done. So if this Mechanicus heretic was able to put the shard on Mars into the breath of the gods, it would function perfectly fine as it was originally. So basically what I'm saying is the Hurd are there to replace the control that would have been issued from the Satan within the device when it was originally created for them by the Necrons. So let's move to the climax here. Kotov and Telok fight within the data stream, and the Speranza's AI comes to Kotov's aid, and the Speranza's soul poured into him. Kotov's eyes were burning discs of golden light, the secret fire that only suns know, the spark that ignited the universe from first to last. He knew everything, everything. Shimmering armour of gold and silver encased Kotov, battleplate as titanic and ornate as any worn by the legendary Primarchs, or even the Emperor himself. A sword of fire appeared in his hand, its hilt and winged quillions forming a two-headed eagle wrought in lustrous gold. A little Emperor armour envy here. Pure knowledge, weaponized wisdom. Telok writhed as he purged himself of the kill code. And before slaying him, Kotov says to Telok, "Woe to you, man who honoured not the Omnissiah, for ignorance shall be your doom." With the destruction of the planet, ex nihilo, and the restoration of violated physics, the temporal hellstorm at the edge of the galaxy was stilled. The time streams diverted by the breath of the gods, and the imprisoned Hurd snapped back to their proper places, undoing thousands of years of damage. Stars that ought to have died in ages past, and which the breath of the gods had returned to life, burned towards their end once more. Those who had been drained of life now surged with renewed fury and the light. But it still took the Speranza almost 2 months to return to Imperial space. Ex nihilo was no more, and the temporal aftershocks of its demise and the Hurd's vengeance had reduced it to little more than inert rock. A glittering debris field of silver fragments englobed its corpse, the remains of the breath of the gods. To ensure no one ever built Telok's infernal machine, the Speranza unleashed all manner of arcane weaponry into the debris. Chronometric cannons, antimatter projectors, and hypometric weapons of such power that they caused entire regions of space to simply cease existing. And we are told no one knew who had given the orders to unleash those weapons. The Speranza AI itself, I think. And on that note, I'll wrap up today's video. What do you think to the power of the weapon? What could the Mechanicus have used it for? Should Telok have been allowed back to Mars? Share your thoughts below.